I'd like to call the August 8th, 2023 Village of Lake Park Council meeting to order. Councilman Steve Tudor will lead us in the invocation.
Dear loving Heavenly Father, thank you for your many blessings you have provided in our lives. Thank you for allowing us to live in this wonderful place called Lake Park. Thank you for our mayor, council members, staff, and neighbors. Thank you for those that protect us here local and far away. Please protect them. Father, we ask that you be with those folks that are not feeling well, those that are recovering from surgeries, and families that have lost loved ones. I pray all minds and hearts are open to hear the information provided tonight. Our actions, thoughts, and comments are graceful and a true reflection of our relationship with you. Help us carefully consider the information that has and will be provided to wisely evaluate our options, considering the pros and cons for our village. You have placed each of us in these seats at this time for your purpose. Use us to carry out your plan. Overall, we pray our decisions to be pleasing and honoring to you, and your will be done in this meeting. Amen.
Thanks, Steve. As you are able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bruce, will you grab the public comment? One time. Pass it down, please. I'd like to welcome all our visitors this evening. We appreciate you coming. We're especially happy to have Open Fiber to speak to us this evening. You'll be on the agenda in here in a few minutes. At this time, we have a public comment, and first person is Mr. Gene Browning at 7102 Conifer. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The three quick things. First, thank you for the invitation. Very important. Second, thank you for your service. And then third, I sent an email, I think it was last Wednesday, regarding speeding on Conifer, in particular the section between Mother Teresa and Lake Park Road that is in front of where I live. So I'm seeing the pattern. For 5 years I've lived there, I've seen the pattern of speeding. I can guess why it is. I think because that's the back entrance to the village. A lot of people are coming through to get over to the church. And that section is pretty wide. I think it's 30+ feet wide. Not much to calm traffic there as far as tree cover. There are no trees and grass between the sidewalk and the road. It's wide open. You can get a good look if you're intent on speeding, and you'll know there's no police because it's not a good place for them to park to, let's see. When there are police on that section watching the stop sign, they do a very good job of getting people who run the stop sign. But I don't think I've ever, yes, I really got the but that section does front on the Founders Park, which gets a lot of activity, walkers, bikers, dog walkers, young children, and they don't just always hold to the sidewalk, they will cross that street regularly from one side to the other, especially at dusk. Seems like even more come out at dusk. So I'm just concerned about that. The thing I mentioned in my email was a series of speed tables. I know there's other possible avenues in the past. We have had that illuminated speed sign that tells you speed as you're approaching it. If that's another option, I just want to put that on the table as well. So that was my comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just a couple of comments in response to your requests, your consideration. You said you lived there, what, about 5 years?
Yep.
Okay. We did put in a 4-way stop sign there, probably before you moved in, to try and slow people down on that intersection, especially. I think that has helped some, especially for the people coming down Conifer from the west. So that has helped. We have had people request speed bumps in various locations throughout the village. Seems like for every requests we get for a speed bump, we get one or two people that say we don't like them either, and that's understandable too. We did have the radar sign on that stretch, but we had it going the other way as you were going west. I looked there the other day and there is no pole to put one as you go towards the obelisk.
Right.
Now, we could put in a pole just to put up the radar sign. I think that might be help, because we're looking at moving the radar sign, the temporary or portable radar sign, someplace else other than Faith Church Road, since we do have radar signs now on both ends of Faith Church Road. So that is a possibility. I will say that when we have had the radar sign up on Conifer, Creft, Lake Park Road, we really, it does record data, so we can tell how many cars, what speeds they're running, so on and so forth. When we've had it on Conifer, we've had it on Creft in a couple locations. It's surprising how few people are actually going over 25, 30 miles an hour. I know it seems like it, but the data didn't reflect that, but maybe some of that is because of the sign being there too. People are slowing down. The other consideration as far as speed bumps is that in 2018, the fire marshal requires that all speed bumps be approved by the fire marshal's office. And their concern is that speed bumps slow down response times for fire trucks and ambulances and so forth. It doesn't mean you can't put one in, but it does have to be approved by the fire marshal's office. So those are some of the considerations, and I'll let council comment. And anything you want to?
When we use the sign, certainly the speed limit sign, it certainly helps. So now we have the extra one to use. If we have the permanent signs on Bay Church Road, I'd say we have to set it up there for a little bit, see if it helps you.
Or better record speeds.
At least
if it comes back, you know, but
yeah. Of course, that data we can use to ask for more enforcement.
The day I sent an email, the day after, I watched someone driving from the direction of Dobbins on that section of Conifer. They were clearly 40 miles an hour through the four-way intersection. They didn't even stop.
No.
And then that day that I sent detail, yeah, different car, different occasion, different time of day. But they were not even trying to stop or stop. Which is interesting to me, because if you're going in that direction, you continue through. I prefer to be little, because I don't know where you're going to continue around Conifer, except to visit a friend or you live local. Alarm me as well. But that's why my email was timed. Plus, then at dusk, that same night, that much
Yeah.
all the people were coming out. So nice out. Visibility that well. Wow.
I don't think anyone will argue that we do have speeding throughout the village. Yeah.
Irritating.
The other thing I would add is, not whether or not a speed bump is warranted in this particular stretch, but so many people in the neighborhood basically saying, I want speed bumps. And, you know, kind of gets to a point where a lot of speed bumps everywhere. That's another negative side of it. But I'm not saying what this script should be about. But it will open the door saying, I want speed bumps because I don't put that speed bump. I could hear Scott's phone now. Before we speak.
I won't be able to find his house.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, I think if you're open to considering that, we're going to sign that radar sign. There's only one speed limit sign on that section, basically one direction. And it clearly did not inhibit these two vehicles that were 40 through the intersection. Right? It would have had.
Yeah.
If they wanted.
Okay. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate your comments. Next, we have Dennis O'Neill from representing the Lake Park HOA, lives on 5613 Carroll Avenue. So,
Community Council, I want to, on behalf of the board, thank you all for the National Night Out. That was a great event that should have looked like everybody had a fun time. Here on behalf of the board of directors, we are planning for this year's fall festival, which is going to be taking place on November 4th. Festival is going to run from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Request coming from the board of directors and planning for fall festival is for closing down the streets around Matheson Square. That's Rec Circle on both sides, Meeting Street and Lake Park Drive. Probably maybe in both directions in front of the community center. That's to permit setting up, starting closing down the streets from the 3rd on Friday to allow us to set up the vendors. We're going to be bringing in rides again and allow them time to turn up. So I think the vendors should be out of there. The ride vendors should be out of there by the 4th. Running till 9 o'clock. We're gonna most of the activities for the community will be in the park. The streets will be used for vendors to set up for their displays and selling their wares, kind of a pop-up market, if you will. I think they're gonna have rides here on Lake Park rides, some of the larger rides that won't be able to function under the tree cover. And then on this side of Lake Park Ride, some additional handicap park. In addition to that, we're going to be asking the council to approve our operation of having a vendor provide a beer garden for the evening parts of events. Most of the shopping events and the small rides will be closing up at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., we're going to be having entertainment at the gazebo, and we'd like the opportunity for a vendor to host a beer garden underneath the Christmas tree in between the 2 handicap sidewalk entrances there.
From what time to what time?
From 6 to 9. Last fall for alcohol will be at 8:45. Check my notes. As before, we'll always have the vendor is going to be checking IDs. No one under 21 will be permitted in. We're going to have law enforcement on site. Last year, we had 3 sheriff's deputies from the that we had hired for the event stay on and police the area. We're going to have and provide in advance a map of the actual beer garden, so you'll know exactly where it's going to be. I gave a general description, and then it'll be definitely fenced off with those temporary aluminum walls. Make sure it's secure.
Pretty much like everybody.
Yes.
They could entertain 2 different motions. One is to do street closings for the fall festival on November 4th. When do you want to start the closing?
On Friday, the 3rd at 9 a.m. and then all through Saturday at 11.
Okay.
4th to 11.
All right. So motion would be to close the streets around Matheson Square from 3 o'clock on Friday, November. I'm sorry, did I get that wrong?
11 on the 4th. 9 a.m. on Friday, 3rd to 11 p.m. on.
Okay. Okay, Mark has made that motion. Is there a second? Bruce has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the second motion would be in reference to the beer garden. I think the motion, to keep it simple, should approve a beer garden on Meeting Street on November 4th, following the same guidelines that have previously been in force.
That was my question. I didn't know why we were talking about. There wasn't there a resolution, some specificity to it? You have a copy of it?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, keep it simple, the same
Right.
guidelines, if that's
Yes, sir.
acceptable.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Joe,
I'll make that motion.
okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Sorry.
Bruce has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion has been approved. Thank you, Dennis. Anything else? Anything else, Dennis?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Okay, we also have a request for public comment from Claudia Flagg that Jeremy will enter into the minutes.
had a text this afternoon from just a little while ago from Claudia Flagg. I'll just read it. She has to be read to the minutes. I was planning on attending tonight's council meeting, but something came up. I would like to know if the do not feed the duck signs are in the works for every pond. I found a bunch of hamburger buns at Veterans Pond. People are still feeding the ducks. Please try to make it a priority and put at least one sign at every pond. I'll let Claudia know that the Park and Rec Commission, I had gotten a quote and proposed the sign several months back, but it was not, no favorable vote for the sign. So at this point, that's off the table. So I did let her know that. I've not heard back from her. So.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Before we move on, the owl does not seem to be tracking.
I think we're using the computers for whatever reason. It's using the computer down.
Okay, so we don't want to mess
We
with
got
it.
audio right now.
Okay,
And great pictures of you.
yeah. So I was wondering about you.
You broke it.
Yeah, I don't think the audience wants to see me on
With you.
there. Pass that down, please.
Was the beer garden vote unanimous?
Yes. I'm sorry. Or did I get that wrong?
I was just making sure you didn't ask any no's,
Oh, okay.
and I was just making sure because it was
Okay,
question.
thank you. All right, in your packet that was sent out, you had the minutes from the July 11th, 2023 regular session. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Made that motion.
Jeremy has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Steve has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Thank you. And we did have a last minute change to the agenda, which I sent out this afternoon, and you do have a current copy of that agenda in front of you. It did include the item number 14, which is technology, to discuss the meeting owl and the virtual assistant. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Steve has made the motion. Is there a second? Mark has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion is carried. Okay, we're happy to have our new deputy this evening, Brian Bailey. How's the first 10 days going?
It's been a learning curve, but it's kind of like, oh, I appreciate it.
Okay, I don't know if you've had a chance to meet all the council members.
Too bad. I'll really best again. I'm
Yeah.
Brian Bailey. Just started here last weekend. Hasn't been too long, so doing great so far. Just trying to learn the ins and outs of this area. Just in general, I've worked this side of the county, so it's going well so far. So I've enjoyed it.
Give them a little bit of your background. And
Sure, yeah. As the photo shows, I came from Waxhaw Police Department. I was there for 9 years. Then came to the sheriff's office in February. So I've been here ever since. I came from court security to here. So happy to be here, and for most of my whole career has been patrol. So I have a lot of experience with that, and decided to start my next adventure years.
well, we're happy to have you here. Welcome you to Lake Park.
Thank you.
If I may, can you make sure you do,
Sure.
It'll be all over Facebook.
That's all right. Already is. Thank you so much for being there, buddy.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at the report, or we can have a report for this evening.
Yeah. Yeah, I provided it.
Okay, you did.
Yes.
Okay. We appreciate that. I don't know if there's anything in particular note on that.
Of course, it's my first meeting. I'm not sure
Right.
the history of everything, other reports that came out, but typically there's nothing too concerning on there. A lot of majority of calls down when hanging up typical. Nothing concerning, I believe, to carry on further. So just always isolated stuff.
The one thing the council is always interested in is the number of traffic stops.
Yeah.
And as Mr. Browning indicated earlier, we're interested in speeding and people running stop signs.
Absolutely.
Fully understand that once a patrol car is parked anywhere near a stop sign, people are pretty religious about stopping. So it's hard to hide any place, close to some of these stop signs, so usually people see the patrol car, as they approach.
But I take note of your concern and I'll make sure I pay more attention to that area as well. I wasn't aware of any issues on that road, so now that I know, I'll make sure I keep that in the back of my mind. So
That would be great, thank you. Yeah.
You can open up your garage and let him back in.
I was just gonna offer that.
All right, well, once again, welcome, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to give the floor to Bill Grogan and Steve Boyle from Open Fiber. I've asked them to come to our meeting this evening to kind of give us an update on where the installation of the Open Fiber within the village is. And I'll let you provide us that
Give you
update.
some updates. Well, thank you, Mayor and council members for your support of allowing us to come in and open the community to hopefully improve services as we will provide here shortly. As you noticed, we've been under construction now for a little over 2.5 months. Bringing really conclusion through a tour that I believe the mayor had gone on with our project manager recently for some of the open areas that need to be either brought full restoration or open due to under road passings. It came to our attention that there are some other issues that happened along the way, such as some shrub removal, which we've slated to do full replacement and restoration. So we will complete our restoration efforts based on the punch list created through the project manager, Matt Kramer from Open Fiber and Mayor Cleveland together. And once I have that resolution, I will then reapproach the mayor to ask for a final, are we done with the construction? Yes.
Is there a deadline for residents to make a report on the site?
No. So, we've tried and worked personally, may I set the chair?
Yes, sir.
We've worked closely with Sheree throughout the last few months in trying to give good comms out to be able to have concerns addressed directly to Open Fiber, not through the village. So that was one of the parts we wanted to make sure wasn't there. Our ticket volume, candidly, along the way has been very low to your geography. So by comparison, what maybe would have been an expectation, I would say we're well below that. And from the date of Thursday of last week, there were 7 open tickets. And I believe that as of this afternoon, every one of those tickets should be solved. The things that weren't ticketed were found and discovered through the walkthrough and were noted. Tickets were open for those. We have 3 remaining tickets. One goes directly to the contractor for shrubbery, which we're going to replace. Okay. But the experience for Open Fiber, our website remains open to see direct, if you go to the contact page where you can address construction issues. So if you saw that there was something, you walk out next spring and the area in your yard is soft because where we were digging, that sprinkler head may have ruptured and come off a year later, please put in a ticket. There's no harm in us coming back out if it's assessed that it's within that right of way and that was due to our negligence. We're clearly going to just restore it. In terms of like your backyard, maybe we weren't there, so we probably wouldn't go there. But at the same time, we are in the midst of the utility attachment to the home, which are referred to sometimes as laterals. On our site, we call it a no-cost product. We used Mark Wadasak, who spoke with you directly, referred to it as a NID. The NID is the network interface device that attaches to the home and then interconnects to the right-of-way where our mainline construction is. So normally at the end of construction, we would turn that option to order that no-cost service off. We're not complete with our backhaul to get here due to some NCDOT, which I'll speak to in a moment. And we're gonna remain and keep that option of that order open, just to favor as many community members as possible. Okay, because when it does go away, it will be kind of a hard, once you turn it off, then it becomes a $200 installation fee for the least expensive product, which is the quarter made for $55, but the $85 will remain at no installation cost. Where today, you could go on and click on no cost, and we'll at least connect it to the network. So, and that guarantees free installation for the remainder of time. So if the house transfers over to another ownership, we'll already have that information in our database to your address, and we'll provide you free installation.
You will put a NID on the house now, or will you wait?
So we've wanted to get through one phase of construction where the liability in the bonding agreement, like our performance bond, which I believe was in for $200,000. We want to be able to take and reallocate that money, and I'll explain that here in a moment as to our moves across, as we kind of branch out. But the other insured party would be another contractor who comes in to do the bids. So I just want to kind of walk through that with you guys and get some what you believe to be best practices and listen to your concerns and address them directly. So we're close to being done for construction. What remains, we've worked as we've grown across the state. We were doing just small allocations with DMV or DOT to get road crossings, under road crossings. And so they really didn't make us bond more than $50,000 at any one point in time. And it was able to be across a large, broad geography. However, we have, since our last meeting together, have opened up the Outer Banks. We'll be building from the 64 connector to the top of the Outer Banks. And that office is already open, and we are actually in construction there. We're building in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and Southern Pines as well. And we've started our backhaul there. Our office opens next Wednesday in that geography. We have looked at Durham, and I've been meeting with Durham, Winston, Greensboro. We're also over to Gaston County, Shelby, Kings Mountain, Cramerton, and now looking up the Hickory. So our goal before the end of 2023 will be to solidify at least 80% of all of those North Carolina cities with encroachment or blanket agreements, and be well rolled out to be able to open offices within those geographies. So we've gone through a construction phase, and candidly, without your consideration, without us being in your neighborhood, learning the craft that much better, knowing how to control the contractors, using some best practices that candidly, I must say, Cherie helped along with to get done. You guys have played a critical part in our garden, for sure. So we really do appreciate that. The NCDOT has asked us to rebond, so we're at a $500,000 bond now as a rolling bond across the state. So that should bode well, but up until there's two people who run NCDOT bonds, and one of which has to get us underneath 74 or over 74 on full attachments to like the neighborhood. So we have done some construction in the areas around it, but we await that connection. So we're hopeful by end of year that you will be lit and live as an environment, as a whole community. So the next piece of that would be is we've tried to work. Mark had originally outlaid a plan to put what's called our OLT, or some people refer to them as POPs. It's basically our point of presence that is the larger of those. So if you look at that picture right there, that's an FDH. It connects, has 96 capable connections to homes. We usually undersubscribe and put about 70 into one of those. Our OLT will be the kind of the gang point for all of those. That's a box where we do provide a leasing agreement where we would give monies on a monthly recurring basis to the community who would allow us to let it reside. DOT usually allows for that to go pretty smoothly for us. It doesn't require any money, but it does put us in jeopardy of a strike. from a car. So, you know, if that were something that you would possibly take under consideration, I could present, you know, paperwork to that and show you what maybe some targeted areas were. One, as I've driven around, might even be at the front of Lake Drive there. There's a big lake and there's a wall that kind of is on show display. Maybe put it behind that where it would really be almost virtually unseen. But we could pay a fee to place it there. So that would just get it well out of the way of anybody damaging it. So that's another piece we'd like to be able to maybe have future consideration.
We'd be interested in learning more about that.
Okay, very good. In terms of other notes, give me a minute. We have been working with the town home collective TOA communities on that knit agreement, blanket knit agreements. Thus far, I believe we have 2 that are signed. I believe there's a total of 6 overall, and we have a meeting with one next week, I believe, on that end. And the idea of those are, again, it's not paid for service. It's not the TOA committing its residents to service with us. All it is just a facility manager saying, connect to the facility so that future utility, if they desire it, it's already there. They can just get it turned on at no cost to them. So they're just favorably taking advantage of that. That's my opinion. Yes. So, you know, just wanted to make you aware of that. That has been presented, and each of those, Sheree had made it clear to me that, and Dave, you did as well, that those are to be decided upon directly from those townhome associations. So we follow that directly. Let's see, talked about that. I don't believe today that there are any remaining like open issues besides what we've agreed to on like the plant structure and the stub ups. And as I mentioned, I'll have Matt follow up with you by Tuesday of this coming week, so that by Friday we should be able to call, you know, we're done with their Lake Park for construction. There are under road passings which require DOT, and those will all be measured by DOT directly prior to the passing happening. We're bonded with DOT. If there were to be a rise in the roadway, we'd be accountable to that, have to prepare the DOT standards before we get hand back. So that would be outside.
Am I correct that the stub ups for the individual homes will be buried within the next week or so?
By Tuesday, yes. So the reason for the stub ups is each of those little tubes that come out of there will be a fiber conduit to an individual home site. So we use those stub ups as testing method to be able to effectively, they push pneumatically or air driven ball bearings down there to make sure that conduit is clear all the way through. And that really is part of what we turn around then after that testing to pay our contract. So we have yet to pay the contractor for the work they've done out here until we're complete. So we're holding them as accountable to all of us.
Great.
I also wanted to take the time to introduce Steve Boyle. Steve will be the new market executive for all of Charlotte. So he will run Matthews, Union County area, as well as our movement to Cramerton, Kings Mountain, Gaston, and Shelton.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions or comments from council? Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming this evening. I did enjoy riding around with Matt yesterday, and it was educational, as well as I was quite pleased. I sent an email to council that some of the early installations on the east side of Fay Church Road, you couldn't even tell anybody had been there except for a few stub ups sticking up.
Right.
So I think, in my opinion, you've been doing a good job.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And you know, I got to thank Sheree for her help throughout this. Very crystal clear communication, allowing us a fair opportunity to address issues that arise. It is construction, so it's not always perfect, but we do appreciate your time on this. One last piece to hit on is exciting for us through our growth, our plans in 2024. We expand to South Carolina and Georgia, and possibly into other states throughout the country. Due to that, we are branded as Open Fiber in South Africa. And so we brought that name forward as Open Fiber USA to America. However, we found that there is another Open Fiber, and ironically, within 17 hours of our filing, they got there 17 hours earlier. So we decided, since our growth will take us outside of North Carolina, we'll do a DBA as Open Fiber to North Carolina, but we will be rebranding as Ripple Fiber within the community. Okay, so our end name now will be Ripple Fiber, and that announcement is not official. So I'd ask that you kind of keep it close to the vest if you choose to, but I'm obviously speaking of it, so it will be public in the next few weeks. Yeah, so just exciting, and same company, same ownership, financing, everything's the same. And we'll be publishing a little bit more. So as we do this, we've gone through a cycle of now giving a little bit more background history of what is Open Fiber, Myriad Capital, financial arm.
Will you give us a advance notice of when you will cut off the free installation?
Yes.
I think it would be beneficial for us to publicize that so that all homeowners are aware of that. And Matt felt that there were a lot of people that have been signing up already, but I don't know what a lot is, but
I'll give you some numbers specific to that. Right now, what I'm seeing, we anticipate once we go live, our objective would be at about 30% of the overall build community be, enrolled. Presently, we're at high teens, and then another 8% in mid-O, which is potential possible conversions once we go live. So your numbers look really strong. We do want to remain part of the community. I know that you had mentioned your event with the beer truck and everything else. I would welcome a conversation with Steve to get our involvement with our rebranding. We'd like to be able to use situations like that to help you in the community, and sure we can align to do this. Absolutely.
I think we're looking for somebody to pay for all the beer.
But yeah, I mean, really, you guys have been very accommodating last week. Okay. Appreciate that. Is there any additional questions at all? Awesome.
I think that's all.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. That's for going over.
Are you with the camera? After those vote together.
Yeah, right. Can we redo your speech?
No.
You owe me $20.
Thank you, very good. Well done.
Well, thanks again. We really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving on to the finance officer's report, Carol.
Okay, so this is the first month of the fiscal year, and as usual, we have paid things like insurance, and we had the National Night Out and the July 4th event. I guess more of that is in the July report. We continue to get swim fees. We're at 33% of the daily swim fees. And not seeing any problem areas. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to ask.
Notice in the last couple of months, you're not including the separate balance sheet for the ARP funds.
Yeah, I haven't brought it forward yet. There hasn't been any change to it, but yeah.
Yeah, you could
Take a look at it.
include that next month. Appreciate that. Any questions for Cheryl? Okay, thank you very much. Bruce, do you want to address the stormwater issue on Trevor Simpson?
Trevor Simpson. That turned out to be a real surprise. What we thought it was gonna be, what it turned into. Seems when the section was built over there, they never connected the pipe properly. And then they tried to do a patch on it. And as you can see from the photos, it didn't really hold. So they had to Dig it up, that's a 3-foot pipe. So they had to dig up around it and lay in rebar across the top of it before they could reconcrete to hold it together. Otherwise, the whole section would have been dug up and out all the way out to the street. Just another example of things that are gonna go, in the infrastructure here. These things were not really watched closely when it was built originally. This is just a small indication of things to come. Crest was another one that cost us dearly. Mimosa was another one. We got another one developing over by Veterans Pond, which we haven't really addressed yet. Haven't even gotten an estimate on it yet. But that's gonna have to be dealt with, I would say, before the year is out. So, and I'm sure there's more to come. That's about all I can say on that subject right now. I will say one thing, he's got a fella that he crawls through the pipe. He'll go in, he'll go in through the storm drain itself. And he crawls through the pipe. Find out where the issues are, you know. But, they used to call them tunnel rats in Manhattan. You know, what's that?
Yeah, I think another interesting thing about one on Mimosa, the one on Craft, this one here, you know, from outward appearances, you see a little hole. This one was a little bit bigger, it's probably could have dropped a football down that hole.
Yeah.
But, they start out as small holes and then get down in there, and this is the type of thing you see, and it's the dirt is being sucked into the storm drains and it's end up with big holes down there, so.
And the one over on the breath by Veterans Pond, that hasn't developed a hole, but the whole storm drain itself and the concrete on the other side is just dropping down. So that's only gonna get worse before it gets better, as they say. Eagle Engineering did do camera footage on it. I have not seen the video at this time. But we will see it before we move forward with an estimate.
Thank you, Bruce.
No problem.
We already approved up to 10,000 for this one, right?
Yes, I will say that the 10,000 that this ended up at, was strictly for the construction, did not include Eagle Engineering's cost.
Right.
So I don't know if council wants to approve an additional sum for Eagle Engineering, or you're acceptable with the $10,000 that was approved plus engineering charges. We don't know what Eagle, we haven't seen Eagles.
No, I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen it on that one or on by Veterans Pond yet.
So I don't know if it's under $1,000 or if it's over $1,000. We could wait till next month and just see where it comes at.
By then we should know what he's coming with on Craft also.
Yeah.
Get an overall picture.
We got the one on Meeting Street as well.
That one I'm not even concerned with just yet. No, that one I can get a look at soon.
Okay. Moving on to Park and Rec. Jeremy?
Yes, sir. Requesting council action for some banner replacements. So we just replaced the winter banners. Council had approved that a couple months back. The same price, this time we would replace the 4-season banners, and we have 3 style of banners, so probably in the next fiscal year, we would replace the 3rd set. If you paid close attention to the slideshow over the last couple of days, it's changed because there was a little bit of differences to it, so this is the latest version that I think looks much better than the one that was there earlier. So I would make a motion to approve $4,149.47 for 4-season banner replacements.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Joe has seconded, any discussion? All those in favor of approving $4,149.47 for new flags, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion is carried.
Also request an action for some tree care throughout the village, areas around Sages Pond, Alden Pond, Balsam, out here in Matheson Square. And then we had some trees down on Queen Street that happened this past weekend. So I will make a motion to approve $2,250 for Kiker Tree Service for tree care.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll say,
Bruce has seconded. All those in favor of approving $2,250 for Cracker Tree Service, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion is carried.
Just the information only, pool membership update. As of last week, 221 residential memberships, 67 non-residentials. 288 total sold, total revenue 65,247. I went back and checked our daily walk-up comparisons because we knew we were gonna be a little bit under just from the Memorial Day was a terrible day for a pool, and then June was cool weather. So you can see there how June of 2023 is, about $800, $700 less than last year. And July was up a couple hundred, so we'll see where it ends up, but we could fall short of our projections on walk-ups. Blood drive had 6 first-time donors, 3 were just walk-in. The goal was 19 products. I collected 20. Mark, again, I appreciate everything you do with that, and the high presence on social media is work, so we appreciate it. National Night Out was a huge success. We served 234 barbecue sandwiches, 300 hot dogs, plus chips and drinks. We're gonna estimate the attendance around 450 people. Some people had probably two pieces of food, a sandwich and a hot dog, or 2 hot dogs. It's really hard to tell, but it was a good crowd out there. I would like to thank Joe Joe took off work and helped me set up. The only help I had setting up, so I really appreciate it. We did end up having to pay laborers to man the bounce houses just due to lack of volunteers. Lori asked for volunteers. We had 2 people signed up for volunteer, both of which were older ladies, both of which have some health problems, and it was hot that day, and it's just not something you want to put anybody in jeopardy.
what happened to the rest of the park and rec crew?
Everybody's got jobs. Lori emailed it, I think. Julian was out of town. I think he and I were the only ones that responded to her actual email asking for help. Steve, he texted me the night before and said he'd get there when he could. Will did put up some signs for us.
Julian did technically send his son,
He did, yeah.
he was a big help.
Well, we could ask the same question. What happened to all the council members?
I was in the hospital.
I know, I'm not just throwing off on you, but I mean.
I actually came by
Yeah.
and nobody, it said, we need help.
What happens to the community? I mean, we should have more people volunteering than what we do, but
Yeah,
it's hard to get anybody to do anything.
that's for sure. You can't even get them to respond to an email to say, yeah or no, I'm coming or not coming. So much less getting them out there. Ended up, I mean, it's not a ton of stuff. I brought a van from work and it worked out great. We were one of the big vans, we loaded it up. One haul, we got everything over there and back and forth, so. But it's time consuming, and it's not, we pay Lori to coordinate the event, but I never expected her and don't expect her to cart everything over and set up, tear down and all that. I mean, that's not included in that, but.
We'll do better next time.
Yeah, I only just say that, we just have to consider it. There's a lot of moving parts to National Night Out and July 4th. Those are the 2 big.
How much do we have to pay the people in man their house?
They're $25 a night or $75 a piece. Yeah. And I think that total was $375.
And last year we paid
the company last year and had hoped the company would man them this year for a cost. And they had trouble getting people. So found out on Friday that they weren't gonna have anybody that could work to man the bounce houses. There's one of them you could have maybe not had a person at, the little kiddie one, but it's just safer to have somebody there in case somebody unplugs it or anything happens, kids go wild inside of it, so. We just did what we had to do to get by. Some pictures on the next page of the event. Like I said, it was a good event, well attended, and we appreciate everybody in the community that came out and helped and attended. Our next meeting is August 28th, and we welcome anybody to show up who can.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
Next is the ordinance review committee, Joe. You have
Okay. Well, everybody's got a copy of the golf cart ordinance in front of them. This has been reviewed by the attorney. Mr. Swain reviewed it, made his changes. Changed it to the proper verbiage and wordage that they use. Everything's been done to it. If you notice, and like I told you in my email, the blue font is updates that the committee came up with that were not yet forwarded to Mr. Swain, so he did not have those in his. He has already reviewed that and said everything looks okay with that, and he's okay with all the changes. Just small little things that we did here and there that we wanted to decide on it. I did get some feedback from Jeremy too on a few errors that I fixed, most notably. Dusk to dawn should have been dawn to dusk. The operation time was backwards, but we fixed that. We're good. You can ride during the day, not at night only. Small error, but we fixed that. So that's all good to go. Also, the release form has been totally pretty much started from scratch with that. The signature lines are the same. But it's fine. Yeah, so which I expected that. So that's all been done. So we're basically good. And one point that was brought up to me was we did also, in addition to these forms, we did also have basically a cheat sheet of rules that we had to give out to people. And then we also had a registration form. There's a couple little tweaks that need to be made on that. It will be ready before we present this for public hearing. So with that being said, are there any questions about the current ordinance you have in front of you?
You got 3 paragraphs in blue.
Yes. Blue is what has been changed. Since at our last meeting, the attorney had the original ordinance, and last meeting we had a couple other little changes. At the time of printing this, they weren't okayed yet, so they were the differences. I did it that way mainly so that the attorney could very quickly look at it, see exactly what was different from what he had.
Look at it today.
And he was able to review it right away and go through it. So it could technically all be the same right now, but there were just a few changes there. So that was just for notation purposes. So.
Can I just ask a couple questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Under that section 14 for registration, inspection and fee. The operator of the golf cart must have a validity issue.
Valid, okay. Was that you? Hadn't you caught that? If I remember correctly in the emails, do I have that wrong?
Yeah,
I
but
did call it. Validly is what the word should be.
okay.
I thought it got corrected.
Maybe it's spelled right. Maybe I don't. It's right.
Probably not.
No, I was thinking
Validity is a word, and it probably got passed. On both of us.
my answer was that's what Ken put it.
Yeah.
I think that is correct, validly.
Okay, issue, Village of Lake Park registration. And then the appeals, you said, you think it's not necessary?
I mean, I don't know, well, I think what you have is you have other places that aren't doing it, but I have some of the samples I had, at least one of them did have a small appeal process to put it, I think, before the council or something of that nature, to review it, to determine whether or not it was, if somebody wanted to appeal it. I mean, you can do it, and I'm not seeing others, it doesn't seem to be as common, but I can see you wanting to do it, yeah.
I just wondered.
Because it does provide, as you know, I'm sure from the review, a very wide breadth of discretion for the sheriff's department deputies about, revoking a registration for purposes of making sure the community is safe, and there's basically their sole discretion. But if you want to do it, we can certainly. I don't want to muddy the water. I don't know that it's necessarily muddying the water to give people an opportunity to, have themselves heard. They have a disagreement with someone because, law enforcement does a good job. They're not always right, and that's the reality of it. But this one was, it appeared to me, and I'll let Joe comment about this, but it appeared to me it was offered up in the vein of, we're doing this as a privilege, and we're doing it to maintain community safety. We need to make sure everyone acknowledges this isn't necessarily a safe practice. And because of that, we're going to give some unilateral authority to our enforcement figures about what to do or not to do. But yeah.
What you saying? What's your take on the handicap thing?
Well, in terms of having a plaque, they have a placard parking in a handicapped spot. Well, you're treating it, I think the answer is, I think you should allow it to some extent because
You are treating everything as motor vehicle for purposes of enforcement of chapter 20 laws. That exist within the state of North Carolina, and so I think they could do it, but you do have a provision. I went back, I had forgotten that. I told Joe when I said that, you know, I was operating remotely today, so I didn't have this stuff immediately in front of me. And I had misrecollected, about, there's a provision in there that directs that if I'm not gonna get it quite right. If a golf cart is parking in a designated parking area, is to park in that area in a way that allows for multiple golf carts to be able to park, and then I think it would probably be the same for a handicap area. I do think that maybe, as I'm sitting here thinking about it out loud, bringing it up, maybe there should be some provision that ensures its removal after the standard operating hours within the village of use of the golf cart have expired. Otherwise, you might have one parked there.
I mean, this says you can't park in a handicap.
Right, no, I understand, but if you've got a handicapped person, I understand you're thinking about it, and, you know, maybe from an ADA, I haven't thought through it far enough. Maybe from an ADA perspective, maybe it would be a mandated, you know, type of provision, I'm not sure, I don't recall. That wasn't something I necessarily thought heavily about when I was making some modifications to it. I don't know if these other documents or from other jurisdictions have provisions related to that or not. I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm
that
certainly
was,
more than willing to look at it.
that was specifically added when Jim spoke with, Officer Kennery. And he said that there was a lot of cases of abuse being used with the placard, because they have very limited space. And I thought of it today when I saw Miss Judy pulling up. And I said, what a shame, there's already one car in then one handicap space. And if a golf cart was parked in her handicap space, you wouldn't have had a space to park too. Will handicapped people be using the golf carts? Or will it be more of, when you have the placard, typically that is, you know, people that are carrying that from car to car because somebody's driving that handicapped person?
I mean, I guess for me, the key question would be, what I'd want to review is what the current law is regarding the availability of handicap spaces and for whom it is available for. And if it's restricting, if it has restrictive language at all related to motor vehicles of some sort as they're defined, then perhaps being able to exclude it is acceptable for just these purposes Joe's mentioning, and that you wouldn't be in a position where it's mandated by the issuance of a golf cart or the creation of a golf cart.
Is Indian Trails, their ordinance does not allow them to park in a handicap spot? Or he just suggested that?
No, their ordinance does not have that in it right now, but according to him, the Officer Kennedy, that the placards you get are assigned to the tags of the vehicle. You're not allowed to move them, even if you get the ones hanging on the rear view mirror, you're not allowed to move them from car to car. They're set to that vehicle.
I'm not sure that's correct.
That's what he was.
Yeah, I remember saying that when he said that, and I looked into that a little bit, that particular part of it. But I'm not sure that that's, yeah.
Directly to the person.
It's to the person, yeah, correct.
If my daughter drives me in her vehicle, I take my placard and put it in her car. Because we're still going to the doctor, it's an issue to me, but I'm supposed to be in the vehicle. There are people who have placards who drive around with them that belong to their parents that.
Yeah, not a lot of use of them in general, absolutely.
Take them down, let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
I do think there's a lot of use of those generally.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, they could be registered to you, but he did say it's to the vehicle that you have. It's tied to that registration. That's what he had said. I want to go on off what he had said.
I did try to look into it a little bit more to see if there was any provision of where it said that it was only good for a motor vehicle or what it was good for, and I really didn't find anything.
I have not done my head.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with the state, with it, how it is, what I wouldn't want us to adopt an ordinance that's, yeah, not say ADA, not confined to ADA.
Right, I understand. I have a feeling, it's an instinctive instinct that hasn't been really very thoroughly considered by much of anywhere yet. That's just an instinct. But I can.
If we don't want to be guinea pigs, we can always take that out and add that later if we have to. If you want to, we can amend it.
You want me to kind of look at that?
I leave that up to Joe, I mean, I don't, and I apologize for not catching other stuff a month before y'all, when y'all could have had it at your meeting, but
I,
I just didn't get until this week.
I myself, I mean, I understand the fact, and like I said, I would hate to have seen a golf cart in the space where somebody that needs it. 90%, let's face it, 90% of the golf carts is recreation. You know, it's not for people getting around, it's more recreational than anything, so. Yeah, what do we think? Do they need it? But now, do we want to be the guinea pig if nobody else is doing it this way? I know Indian Trail says they're going to do it this way.
He said they're
At
gonna
least-
do it. He was saying there are other number of towns around that are in the process of allowing golf carts and handicap spaces are limited. And he said it would best be wise to add that. That was his suggestion.
I mean, I'll go with the consensus right now. If people think we should or shouldn't have it, we'll take it out or.
I would think that a golf cart parking in a handicap zone would have to have one, period. And you couldn't just, Wendy has a handicap parking sticker. I mean, technically it'd be abusive. I put it on a golf cart and go in there, but anybody with a golf cart would have to have a disabled sticker to be able to park in.
The question though, Mark, is the ordinance says you can't park in a handicap parking lot. Even if you have,
Even with.
yeah, so that's the question.
It wants to basically leave the handicap parking spaces for registered motor vehicles only,
Okay, that's.
so.
But I would leave it in there for now, and if you could check that.
It won't take me a horrible long period of time to kind of see what I can-
Just leave it like it is then.
Yeah, leave it
I'll
like
look
it is.
at it.
You know, we haven't adopted the ordinance yet, and after the public hearing,
There may be other talking.
there may be some other changes we wanna look at, it may be a point where, the council decides not to adopt the ordinance at all, so. For purposes right now, I'm just leaving
The one other change that was brought on that Jeremy recommended to me was if we had in here, and this was Judy's idea of to specifically state that it cannot be used on the sidewalk. So that people won't travel up on the sidewalk or parks. However, Jeremy brought in to say you should be operated by a village official carrying out official duties. If something comes out to, Sheree needs to get around more, and you get her a golf cart, something like that has to go on property. If it's being used for a special event. We do have the provisions to do that, but if we're doing something where it's needed to go, we left that open. That way it's only by village officials, so that's something else that was added into it. So. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, then if that's the case, no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to call a public hearing before our next council meeting in September, which I don't have the date for.
Well,
September 12th at 7 o'clock to have a public hearing for the golf cart ordinance.
a motion, is there a second?
I'll say.
Mark has seconded, any discussion? All those in favor of calling for a public hearing on the golf cart ordinance at 7 o'clock on September 12th, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion is carried.
All right, thank you very much for that. Last thing to talk about is just our next step, the ordinance review committee, is we're still exploring the social district. We're doing a lot of research on that of how other areas are using and providing their establishments with the social district, and just we're going along. The latest we've come up with is John Corzine's drawn out a map for us of our different designated areas where we said that we will have it just to show. And there's still more conversation of of how the whole ordinance works and the cup that will be used. There's a special cup that is required. How that's going to be done, how that's going to be provided for, and how that's going to work, what we're going to do with it. And they would even save down a step where we don't have to do the have the motion for the beer garden every time we do that. We'll just have it going through special, and this is all for only for designated village and HOA events. It will not be for anybody else being able to just walk in at any time, walk into the Mexican restaurant, and walk out with the beer and walk around through town. Will not be for that purpose whatsoever, it'll only be for designated events. So we'll continue working on that. We'll have more information at our next meeting for that.
Did Waxhaw have any, did they have a social district set up or not?
No, sir. Anytime they, want to have some kind of event, they had to go through our ABC officers and have to have them, take care of that for them. So no.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else, Joe?
That's it for the ordinance review.
Thank you very much. Moving on to public services, streets and sidewalks, any update on that, Bruce?
Just compiling a few more before I come up with an estimate from Anchor Construction.
Okay.
You know, we had the 13, I think it was, and right now I've got an additional 4 or 5 that have come up in that short period of time, and there's a few more that are coming up even more as we speak, you know, between the heat that's popping sidewalks and trees that are pushing and cracking sidewalks. We could be as high as 20 before we're done, I don't know.
And I sent you a pothole and I'm not even sidewalks.
Well, that's not even a sidewalk, that's a pothole. Sorry. That will fill with blacktop.
Can I read the cards? I just take pictures.
Bruce, thanks for getting that stop sign replaced, tell me.
Yeah, by the way, I ordered an extra stop sign.
Oh, yeah, by the way, there's almost in front of Jerry Reed's house, two houses down where they have a for sale sign. There's a bump sign that's like on a 40-degree angle down.
That's why we don't have speed bumps.
There you go. You didn't see the speed bump. Yeah, it's been around.
But I also ordered a Joshua Alley sign for the one that's been MIA for about 4 months now.
Thank you, Bruce. Glad you're feeling better.
Working at it, saying I just got out of the hospital yesterday. So. But I was circling the drain, so they tell me. They knew I was in trouble when they asked me, pick the question. One of the questions they asked me is, who's our current president? I said Bush.
Way back.
I didn't even know I said that though, Helen told me. Wasn't that good?
Thank you, Bruce. Joe, anything on lighting?
Yeah, a couple of things here on lighting. The discovery was made the other day. I need everybody's help for memory and, on Food Truck Friday, Lori was on the way back and she came around through the long way coming through and at the clock tower right here by the flags that are closer towards your house. She told me the light was out. Okay, I'll check that out. I ain't mistaken there. At the clock tower right here, we got the flags on both sides here, you know, the American, the North Carolina Lake Park flag. The American flag is supposed to be lit. If it's kept up 24/7 at night, it's supposed to be lit. And the one over here on this side, right here, the one that goes closest going towards my house, is lit and working fine. You know, she told me the light was out on that side, and I said, okay. And so I did some, you know, I checked it on Saturday to go check it, see what's going on, and there's no fixture there. I thought that there was a light on that, and I know that I've had people complain before when the lights weren't working on the flag, and it's usually been timing situation, but there is no fixture there. I don't know if something happened with the landscaping company or what. I looked through the flowers, through the shrubbery all there. Anybody help me remember, or have there been lights on that?
Like on an open fiber?
Yeah.
I can't say, I don't know if there's been one.
Get another ticket going.
I
Sure, it was.
I would have to imagine there was.
Yeah, I can't imagine there wasn't.
But it's gone, for the time being, I've actually ordered, just a solar spotlight to put on there. So that we can have there, so I can figure out what's going on, but if, anybody knows or remembers.
One being there, not being there.
I know the one at the Veterans Ponds licks, I've had to fix that one before. I know I've had to replace the Baltons one, but I never had to do anything to that one, and I just never thought of it, so.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you drive by it all the time and you don't know it's one of the
Yeah.
You just assume.
The way people, some people are rightfully so with the American flag, I would have thought that if it wasn't there at some point or another, we would have had a complaint. I know I've had one complaint in the past of, somebody came in and told Sheree that the flags weren't lit. And at that time, the timer was just off, so they were warning and the timer wasn't, it was darker earlier, so the timer was off, so I had to reset the timer, but I would imagine it would have been something else, so. I'll look into that and I'll have some more information on that next meeting. That was crazy. I did have one person ask me about the the lighting at the gazebo at Founder's Park, which, you know, as I spoke before, I'm trying to come up with something different. I've kind of suspended doing anything different on that till we talk about what we're gonna do, of what's gonna be done with any refurbishing of that. I don't know, have Parks and Rec talked about that or done anything, any substance, just. I mean, if that's something that's gonna, you know, be farther down the road, then I can come up with something else for it. If not, we'll just, you know, wait. So if you guys run into anything on that, let me know. If not, I'll figure something else out for that. I did replace the GFI outlet for the fountain, the second fountain here in Russell Park. It was tripping. Working today. I didn't come through this way. I replaced it on Saturday. And now there's a little caveat to it. I replaced it. Jeremy reset it 1 or 2 times. It was tripping. I went out to it on Saturday. It would not reset. There are 2 items plugged into it. One is for the fountain, and one is for something else. Jeremy and I joked about maybe it was for lights for flagpole, but we don't know what the other plug is for. So I don't know. It goes to a little transformer with a light on it. So it's low voltage light somewhere, but I don't know where it goes to.
That's not the light on the phone?
That fountain's not lit unless it was at one time and it's no longer lit. The farthest one, you know, not the newer one that we replaced, you know, within the last couple of years, the farthest one. I've never known that fountain to be lit. Maybe it was at one time and that's the lighting for that. It may have been. I've never known it to be lit. So we've
No, but I'm in a minute.
somebody really should start documenting some of this stuff, shouldn't we? Where do we have lights? But
I'm trying to remember that. I believe it was just 1 cord, so 1 cord there.
no, there's 2 cords. It's been there for a while.
Running through the PVC that was on.
So we just unplugged the unknown light and it was for at least 24 hours working. I don't know if it's still working right now. So hopefully that's the case. And we don't have to replace another fountain, but that's a possibility out there.
Okay,
That's it for lighting.
thank you, Joe. Okay, well,
I'm on a roll.
yeah, let's you have more.
Okay.
If this meeting runs over, it's your fault.
Okay, well, sorry. With first off, technology, a new section that we're going to talk about. Mark and I had a conversation about some of the stuff that I've been doing with the meeting now and also with the virtual assistant and him and I came up with the with calling, since it's not communications, it's not part of Mark's commission, and we'll have this area called technology to talk about these 2 items here. One being the meeting now, which we've used at the last council meeting, came out very good. I mean, for the money, we can't beat it. We could do better in video quality by a little bit. This today does look better than it did last time. Thing's not designed to pull out without getting your hands on the lens. So you've really got to clean it good after that. I have noticed when we use it, at times when the sun's coming down, it does wash out the person sitting right here. For the money, it works great. I think I've heard back from just about everybody. Everybody likes it. So the question is, should we continue to use this? And just to make a note real quick, in case you don't know, all we are doing is recording it. And we will, if we decide to continue doing this, we will have the videos posted on the village YouTube page. If we can figure out the password is for it, we'll do that and have them posted, have a link on the website for it. So that we could, so we would do it. I think, I know there's a lot of times on Mark's Lake Park page that people ask this, or this, and Mark's come back, hey, we discussed this at the March meeting, council meeting, and it would give you an avenue, hey, you can go see the meeting, pull it up, do that. I'm not planning on at this time, unless people see there's a need or we hear a lot about it, I'm not planning on live streaming the meetings, just to have it ready where people can go back to for reference. I've thoroughly enjoyed having it for the ordinance review committee. It helps me go back through. First off, I don't have somebody taking the minutes, so it helps me go back through for the minutes and to work through everything and to go back for a reference. So, and what does everybody think? Should we continue doing it?
I'd say yes.
Yeah, I don't see a reason we want it.
So everybody's in favor of it. I don't think we need to vote for anything for this. It was just.
Has the village purchased this?
Yes,
Okay, so we own that.
yes, it came out of my electrical budget last year. We closed it.
Okay.
It was under $1,000, so I didn't need approval.
So you're saying we would start posting them to the YouTube page?
Yeah.
Facebook page.
After this meeting's done, I will end the meeting and it converts it into a video file. And at that time, it can be posted, it can be uploaded to the village's YouTube page. And then links from the YouTube page put on the website as we work with it on the village
Did we-
website. Mhm.
Did we ever find out access to that page? Sure, he was trying to figure out like,
I'm sure if she doesn't have it, we can obtain it.
Yeah.
You know, if not, we'll make another one, I guess.
Yeah.
So. And we had one that was used back in the day when.
back in the
COVID.
pandemic.
Yeah, when we were in COVID and had the meetings that we were doing virtual, so we had it for that, so I'm sure we,
And I think the last council two was on it 2 years ago, when we were all running,
yes.
not all of us, but Steve and I were in. So you.
Are you gonna post the other meetings, the ordinance review meetings and?
I'll do the ordinance, I'll be happy to show you how to do it for Parks and Rec if you want. I mean, it's the village's tool, so it can be used for whatever, you know, depends on, you know, the meetings and who wants to use it. Do they want to use it for planning board too? You know, I'll run through how to use it, and what to do with it if they want.
How would we be retaining it?
It will be, all of the files will be uploaded to the cloud, basically. It won't be locally stored. Unless there's a reason for us to have it backed up locally.
I'm just thinking for public records retention purposes. You'll need to have some way to, I don't know what the retention periods are for where you'll be uploading it to. They'll have their own kind of processes for that, right? Well, the question there is. And I'm assuming Cheryl tonight is recording the meeting, but.
There's no boundary.
So you.
I got you covered.
Yeah. But we don't retain that. You're right, after the minutes have been passed. Yeah. That's right. I think you would need to make that clear though. There needs to be some clarity.
Do we need a resolution for this?
Perhaps, maybe, I wanna think about it, you know, what I mean, about just, and I'm sure you'll be more knowledgeable than me about it, about relationship retention, that, aspect of it. I just wanna be careful. Yeah. About, retaining it and then not retaining it, unless there's something maybe in place that directs us there, how you're gonna handle it or something, that nature. It may not be necessary. I don't know. I'm back on my radar. Yeah. Okay.
The other municipalities and even the county, they're uploading to their YouTube page, that's where you go watch it at. Is the.
You know if they're keeping them there in perpetuity? You know,
I think so, because you can go back and look at years back.
right,
since
so
they've
this
been doing
this is the same page you're referring to
Yes.
that we have. Yeah.
Hey, other thing, Sharif, you e-notify with a link to it
Mhm.
for every meeting, so everybody has.
That makes
access.
solid. I want to shoot, you know, just colleagues, just see what their feedback is on it.
One other thing on it, Wesley Chapel, we put it on YouTube and, have a link on the website and we keep it. Ever since we started doing that.
Yeah, it's been retained indefinitely.
But you know, the records retention is the minimums.
Right.
If you wanna keep.
Oh, you go
longer.
beyond it. Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
so I mean,
Absolutely.
The minimum is, yeah, you can
Oh,
get rid of
absolutely.
it when you, approve the minutes, but.
I think like a good idea if it's within your budget or village's budget, just go ahead and get a tripod, so we can.
Yeah, put a tripod on
Put a
there.
tripod there instead of being, maybe raise it up just slightly.
Yeah, see if it gets a better angle, to better side.
Well, right now all you see is the computer in my head, you know?
Yeah, that's why.
The other thing, I think, you know, as we kind of talk about it, and the issues come up, I suspect what I'm gonna hear is what Jeremy has mentioned, you know, which is, oh yeah, we do that, everything's just maintained on an indefinite basis on our YouTube channel. I think the question then becomes, who here is in charge of ensuring that at each one of these given public meetings where the recording is taking place is the one that's shooting it up and uploading it into that locale, because it sounds like you might have 4 different people, and I don't think you want that necessarily. It might make it more difficult to survive.
Well, let's say, for instance, if it was a public and Parks and Recreation meeting, Jeremy would be the one responsible for putting on the YouTube channel. Is that what you're referring to?
I am.
If it's ordinance, it'd be him. If it's a council meeting,
Well, what I'm hearing Ken say, the better practice might be that there is a dedicated computer or something that goes with this thing, and then there's one person who I can record it at Park and Rec and then shut it down, and when you have time, you upload it to whoever uploads it.
I think it's
so you don't
easier
have-
that way than it is Jeremy for Park and Rec, Joe for the ordinance committee, Bruce for the regular meeting. Jonathan McDaniel for the pay and the door meeting. I don't know. I think something gets lost maybe in that, retention. I think that just came up with the new job, didn't it?
Well, I don't know why, what about Sarah or Sharita then? And they're the ones who usually take
They're-
the notes.
Yeah, particularly if it's, did you say when you shut it off, it turns into a video file?
It-
Where's
it-
that-
it
where's that
converts
video
it takes
file?
the video and audio and converts it into a file.
Where's that saved to?
goes on meeting.
Well, it does immediately save to the hard drive of the computer before it's uploaded.
So that's perfect, man. I mean, if you have a dedicated device for use of
Yeah,
that.
so we need to look into a device to use for just that.
Perhaps, yeah. That would make it a lot easier. Then somebody could even if you ran a meeting or two behind, you know, you could still get everything uploaded.
Yeah.
If there was some slip out on it, because it's all still gonna be retained at the same location before being uploaded.
Okay, I'll look into devices that, for us to purchase to do that, to have a town
Yeah.
laptop for that, and it could all use, everybody can use that and. There we go, and I'll bring that information to next month's meeting.
How difficult is it to set it up on multiple computers, even though it's not what you're fighting on?
I don't think it's very difficult, you know, every time I use it, I'm getting a little bit better with it, except for I get to plug it in sometimes. But I'm figuring out how it works a little bit, you know, each time, and
All you really need is access to the meeting account, the password. and,
correct.
To actually do the video on any computer.
Yeah, you could, you download the Meeting Owl app is free.
Right.
And then you can just, you know, once you have access to it now, we don't need, for what we're doing right now, there's no need for a paid subscription for Meeting Owl or for Zoom. And, you know, Zoom's kind of medium in here too, but you know, Meeting Owl is just the camera device. Or and Zoom is the media that allows it to work, basically. Since all we're doing is recording, we don't need to have the pro account, the Zoom Pro.
Right.
Because the Zoom Pro is needed in order to broadcast for more than 45 minutes.
Yeah. An hour.
So-
Yeah. An hour.
So, you know, we're not using that, so there's no cost to anything, and yeah, it's a simple matter of logging, yeah.
I did like the idea of having a dedicated computer for it, and then we could teach Sarah somebody to upload it. All the places.
All right, sounds like a plan, I will look into that. Okay. All right, so,
And it doesn't have to be an elaborate computer either.
no, not necessarily, not at all. It's,
Pretty
you know,
basic,
that one I'm using mine is at least 3 years old, so you know, it does just fine with it, so. All right, so the next section in technology is the virtual attendant. I know everybody's listened to it and checked it out. I do, if anybody wants, I can pull it up on my phone, put it on speaker to listen to it real quick, or any questions with it. I've gotten response from the mayor on it. I've got response from Bruce. Pretty much I haven't heard anything from you, Steve, on it, but.
After 3 numbers, I have a response.
Yes, my fingers were a little fat when I was texting Mark the numbers on it. But the plain simple fact was, it was something I originally started talking with Sheree about, just something to help her out a little bit, since I knew it's been harder for her to get around, and who knows with her recovery. And it was just a very simple system I started off with, was saying, hey, you know, this will just route calls properly for you, and it can even route it to your cell phone if you want. You know, you set up each individual person as a user, and that user can define how to handle the call when it comes to them. It can be forwarded to an extension. One of the 2 extensions we have right now, I'd recommend adding a third for the time being, and I'll get to that in a second. Where, you know, if you noticed on there on the menu, I believe it was 6 and 7, where Sheree and Sarah, Sheree 6, Sarah 7. We have 2 different phones there, one at her desk, one at that desk. It'll ring either one of the 2 desks when you hit that button to call them, or Sheree could have it set up where if she was out
checking on something stormwater wise, she can very simply go in, log into it, change the call handling to, instead of going to her desk phone, going to her cell phone. Or going just straight to a voicemail, which whatever she wants to do at that time. When you do get a voicemail, it will send the voicemail to you as an email, as a text as well, in text email. So you've got that, or you can log into your account like you can any other voicemail. You can go in and listen to voicemails. I did set up in the menu one for every one of us. I don't know how everybody feels about everybody having their cell phone numbers. I don't really have too big a problem with it, to be honest with you. When I was talking with Scott Howard, when we were out there at the 4th of July, can't tell you how many times I got a phone call at 11 o'clock at night for a street light being out or something like that. I don't think we have those problems now because most people email us, but it could be, I did have it set up in a section where it's just plain and simple. Get 8 for council, it goes through the menus. 1 was the mayor, 2 was Jeremy, 3 was me, 4, 5. You go through. Right now, they're inactive because you guys haven't reported anything for it. It's basically what I've done as a sample. So, it just goes to those extensions are unavailable at this time, but they would be reported for that. I did ask Cherie for a list of the 5 most needed or most common questions she's asked, and things that could be answered generically. What are the pool hours? I mean, we all see everybody on the internet, on Facebook asking, that's the pool open, What is the cost for the daily swim pass? Memberships. She said zoning was a big one. To answer your question, the mayor emailed me about the order. Was just the order that Cherie gave me to do it. It was just the order that she wrote it. I didn't ask her an importance. It was just the order that she wrote it. You do kind of want to set it up where the information things are first. So that, if I had press 1 for Cherie, and all the rest of it would be not needed. Everybody press 1 right away. So, we wouldn't go with the information. Hours probably would be a good one to have up early, up in the beginning. Zoning, it just was the number 1 thing. I just went through the list. It may not seem like it, but recording all those things is a little bit tedious. And, I would actually go through and make a script and then read it because you get tongue tied, going through doing it. So
She did a good job.
yeah, I work pretty hard on getting it and doing it. And again, too, we're not stuck on my voice doing it. I'll be happy to do it if y'all want me to or do it. But we could use somebody else's voice too if we want. I don't care. I don't mind doing it either way. So that's up to whatever with that. The changes, if anything needs to be changed, it's extremely easy. It's a menu, it's a tree menu that comes in, and you can turn on and off the lines and re-record the announcement very simply. I mean, to record the announcement, you do it 1 of 2 ways. You use your computer microphone, or you just tell it a phone number to call you. And you answer the phone and it tells you to record, press 1, and when you're done, press star. Just go right through, whatever phone you're doing just to record any of the announcements that are on there or any of the voicemails. It's all very simple, user friendly. So I've been using it at work for quite a while that I turn on and off. Like you said too, I'm not a huge fan all the time of virtual assistants or phone attendants because you do want to talk to somebody, but there are times where I needed it at work just because things get too hectic and I get so many telemarketer calls. And and there's little simple things that are very easy to do. So cost, we're looking at about $35 a month. Right now, we are on just a trial. It's and they told me once the trial's over, talk with them, and they said we'll give you, we have a published price, and then we have a deal. We work with people now. I don't know if they're assuming more account. $35 is per account, and then you can add additional users. Now we're talking additional users. Those are typically not the extensions that I'm talking about. Each one of us have. Those additional users are actual internet VOIP accounts. So you have a separate actual phone number for each individual. We don't need that. We'll be forwarding over to existing numbers. So we won't have to add any additional users. Like I said, it's basically $35 or less. I will throw this one out real quick, just so everybody, like I said, I use this at work and I talked to my account rep and they said, oh, we're going to give you a referral for this too. If they do give me a referral, whatever referral they do, I will donate. Yeah, I don't want to profit from this at all. I will donate whatever referral I get.
We're gonna have to pay you for your voice on there.
Is this a month-to-month thing?
Yes, it's a monthly thing, so, I heard back Cherie, loved it, and I think rightfully so, I think it'll save her a lot of time, and a lot of silly phone calls, so.
What is the rest of the council think?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Like you said, about the top questions, make that number 1, 2, 3, so somebody's not waiting until number 9 or something to find out what are the business hours and pool hours and whatnot. But yeah, I thought it worked pretty good. No, I was impressed with it.
Yeah, that was good. I thought it was good, good idea all the way around.
I would assume that Sherry would definitely look that, Sherry. Steve would.
I had no issue with it. I listened to it. I thought it was pretty good. I said, back to you yet on it.
It does have a call log, so I do know each and every one of y'all listen.
I almost listened to it really late at night. I was like, if I call that, is it gonna go to Joe's home phone number or something? Let me not do that in the morning.
You know how many times I called it, tried to see
It was 4 times.
if I could get the,
Oh, you're trying to,
ain't one to work.
here's my extension, why is it not working?
All right. We wanna give it a trial period, actually implement it, then make a decision, or what?
Well, the first thing that we should do is, first off, I'll have to, change it from a trial to an actual account. We should add, for the time being, add a third line here. And we won't have to do any wiring, we'll just need Spectrum to give us a third line for it. And what we will do is we will take the main number that everybody calls, the 882 VOLP number. That number will be forwarded to the 704-409 number that I gave everybody.
Which would be the system.
And, excuse me?
Which would be the system.
Yes, it'll go to the system, and then from
Live of
there,
the day and whatever, yeah.
then from there, we'll have the system route the phone calls appropriately. If everything works good and we decide to do it, eventually what we will do is we will take the 704-882 VOLP number and have that number ported to the virtual attendant. So it just basically takes the place of that 704-409-5771 number that we have. And then we'll only need 2 phone lines here. So for a time period, we'll use 3 lines just to make sure that we don't change everything. And it'd be a lot easier to change back at that point than if we port the number over, then we'll have to, because we'd have to port it back and forth. And you don't want to keep on having to do that. You understand port? Sorry, I don't know. I say that word like everybody knows, but that's when you take one phone number and move it from a phone provider to another one. Yeah. So that's the way I would recommend doing it.
You said as far as a length of time, so you're saying we'll go with the third line now, and we're gonna try it for a 3-month period, or?
Well, if we have, I don't know how long it would take to get the third line put in. And I assume there's a cost for that.
If there will be a cost for it, we have to have an additional line, which, for my Spectrum account, my business line, my additional one is $45 a month. That wouldn't be a permanent thing. I just recommend doing it that way so that if we have to, for some reason, this just does not work out, we can switch back to the way we were very easy. If we do it that way, having a third line.
So we'll do away with the
Right.
third line eventually.
Basically, what would happen from the start was we would get the second line coming in here. And third line coming in, and we will take we'll just physically unplug 704-882 VOLP. Unplugged, we'll have to go on to the Spectrum portal that they have to change how the numbers are forwarded, because you have it rolling from one number to the second number if busy. So we'll take the rolling out and then have each one of the 2 at their desk have it open where it's dedicated to one line. There, from that point, the attendant will route the calls to the appropriate person. And the reason why I'm saying add the third line right now is because we're going to tie up one line all the time to be called in. The 882 VOLP will automatically be used to forward to the attendant. So it goes out. So we're going to lose use of one line. That's why I'm adding the third line for the time being. I can avoid that by porting that number over to Ring Central, the company that does this. We port that number to Ring Central and it'll directly go straight to the attendant without having to forward it, and then have the attendant route the calls correctly.
The scary thing is, I followed it.
Bruce is getting.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, so eventually they go down just back to the 2 lines, so that extra
Mhm.
$45 a month for the line is not a long-term thing, it's just for 1, 2, 3 months until we get this down pat to see if we like it and want to keep it.
Does Spectrum have a installation charge in addition to the monthly?
That's a possibility. When I added one line, my phone modem that I had already had the capability of running 4 lines. I had 3. They basically just had to flip a switch. And all I had to do was plug an RJ11 and port into it. Here, all we're gonna have to do is just move around where the RJ11 is plugged into the, to the modem.
Can't imagine it would be major.
No.
Everybody wanna proceed with that?
Makes good sense. You know, the village is growing, polls get crazy. It's gonna make a lot.
Is there a contract for this, or can
Month to
you
month.
terminate after 3 months? or-
Month
Yeah,
to month.
month to month. I think we should try it. If Shreya likes it. It's gotta be pretty good.
Sure she will.
I could,
We need a motion.
We could even.
Okay.
I'll work on it. I'll change it from the trial to a regular account. And do we know when Sheree's coming back?
Probably in a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks, yeah. I can try to work with Sarah to, I mean, since we have one person working in the office, I can, work with her and do it with just the 2 lines that we have right now, for the time being. Once Sheree's here, we'll have to have, both lines, so. But I'll work with that. I'll try to, and I'll email Sheree with the information from Spectrum, and I'll take that off her plate, and I'll work on that, of that in that account. Cheryl, do you want any, a voicemail?
Not really.
Okay. I inadvertently left you off the menu, I'm sorry.
I don't get that many.
Okay.
Ken would like one.
I can set Ken's up just to forward right to his cell phone and say 24/7, you can call Ken,
Yeah.
or anybody can call Ken.
I would never give any.
For legal advice,
Yeah, legal department.
Please put the word 3 in front of it.
I had one thought though, Ken, would it be any problem if, messages are going to their personal cell phones as far as records? retention?
Well, I have a note on here that says to look into voicemail retention. So I don't know the answer to that quite yet. I'll get one.
For the
Will
time.
one extension go to the village, non-emergency police number?
We could do that.
Me directly, there's no retention on that.
Right. I mean,
That's a good idea.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, I don't think so, but I'm still looking at it. Cover my paranoia.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move forward with it, get going.
Thank you for all your work on that. That's a lot of work. All right, communications, Mark.
Whatever things for the newsletter.
You left off the people blowing their grass, looking on the street sidewalk last time. so-
Yeah, I needed a little extra last time, but that's fine now.
You can put that in next month.
Okay. Clippers.
What about putting the, how you connect with us in fiber? If you got issues.
Okay. I'll give an update on that.
Might wanna put a note in there about, I see a lot of, not a lot, I see folks crossing the street. By the church, they're not even using the crosswalk. Not pushing it, they're just
Yeah, they just walk across.
walking or jogging across, I mean, they put a note in there, hey, this is there for your safety.
Yeah.
I know, I think you just did it, but another don't feed the waterfowl,
Which I think.
don't feed the waterfowl.
Okay. But so.
Because we're not gonna put signs up, here.
Don't play with the turtles.
No.
Don't stick the turtles with.
Yeah, somebody was mini.
Keep your dog on a leash.
Pick up after you're done. Anything upcoming events that we should be posting?
Although
Early voting, this would be the right time to put early voting in there, or be too soon for
Well, that's 30 days before the election, right?
Yeah,
Well,
so that's
that's
around September.
October.
10th or something.
Could probably wait a month. Yeah, wait a month.
I think I put a, didn't I put an election?
You
thing in
you
last
did,
time?
you
Yeah.
got something in there, yeah.
If I need, if I have room, I'll stick something else in like that.
Register to vote, that would be.
Yeah, register to vote.
Reminder to register to vote.
Remind me, not to use your ID.
Yeah.
You gotta have your ID to vote, man.
Yeah.
That's new.
If you put something on your Facebook, Mark.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And free rock card to have now.
All righty.
We're good, sounds good.
Anything else comes up, shoot, yeah, email it right now.
Thanks. All right, moving on to council comments, Bruce, again, we're happy to have you back.
Happy to be here. I want to thank everybody for their thoughts. You know, never hurts to have all the thoughts you can get, you know. From what I understand, it was on my way out the door. So, glad to be there and getting a little stronger every hour. So,
Did you see a light at the end of the tunnel or anything?
yeah, it was kind of like my. That was an experience, let me tell you. I don't think on anybody.
Mark?
I'm just glad to have you back, Bruce. And thank you for all the work that you do on the roads and all that stuff. Because there's quite a bit coming up to do, it looks like.
I'm gonna be more coming up with this heat.
Yeah. And Joe, thank you for all your hard work on the phone system and the meeting hours, was great. And to Jeremy and Steve for Park and Recreations on a successful national night out. And thank you for being our great mayor, Ken. Well, thank you for all that you do. That's all I got. I'm a thankful person.
Yeah. Thank you. See,
Pretty much the same thing as Mark said. Thanks, Joe and Jeremy. Jeremy bringing the van over made a big difference in putting the stuff out. Appreciate that your company allow you to do that, right? And Bruce, it was great to see you back. And Mark, thank you for all that you're doing for the village, keeping people updated. It's a full-time job, I'm sure. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
yeah, glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Bruce,
Yes.
very happy you're doing well. Glad to see you back. Didn't expect to see you here. Way I was hearing things over the weekend. At least see you here, not gone, just not at our meeting. I will be sending Sheree a link there. Hi Sheree, hope you're feeling better. Thank you, everybody.
Echo what everybody has said already, appreciate the hard work. I did speak to Melissa Merrill this afternoon about 4:30 on the phone, and she said that she had visited Stony Rushing today. He was resting at the hospice house. I did get a text a little bit ago that Stony passed away, so I just ask you to keep their family, his wife and 2 kids in your thoughts and prayers. There's a meal train going on right now for them. I'll probably share it. If you can send a meal down there or something. It's a very sudden situation.
Thank you. I'd like to thank our visitors this evening. We appreciate the public comments always. And welcome again, Brian. Glad to have you with us. And thank you to all the council members for all the extra work you put in. I don't think all the residents appreciate what goes on after hours. All the extra work that each of you do. Really appreciate that. That's all I have.
Bruce, I was good worried about you. Good to see you back. I think I wanted to tell you guys this. I typically arrive here by coming from Monroe, so I'm taking Lake Park Road in. But today I had to come from 485 to Idlewood to Faith Church Road. That speed limit thing, it works. I mean, cause I was speeding.
Slowed you down.
Yeah, no, I was speeding, and it's like, and it did. And it's reality, and I was happy it slowed me down, and I was happy for the village's citizens that I wasn't gonna be continuing speeding. I mean, so it does work, just so you know, it affected me positively.
What kind of car do you drive?
I can get you to turn.
All of a sudden you're going, holy smokes.
Yeah, can we terminate the recording?
Yeah. You just impersonated.
That's definitely a confession.
Yeah, Cheryl.
I don't have anything.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Mark has made the motion,
Second.
Bruce has seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned, thank you very much.
Thank you.
How do we?
Ain't a voting less tonight.
All hard.
Hold on again.
Thanks for coming, Dean.
We have to click over the screen.
All right.
Yes.
Look at those screen there. Take care of that.